Whether you're a Final Fantasy XIV main, or just starting your adventures for the first time in Eorzea, Patch 7.4 has just released, and if you're anything like me who barely managed to reach series level 25 for the glamour outfit, look no further because in this video, I will break down my foolproof strategy of how you can simplify the PvP grind, or lock in, pump some serious damage and leave your enemies wishing they hadn't queued into you. If you're new here, PvP is, for some people, a chore, and for some the only content they engage with in Final Fantasy XIV. While I'm more of a PvE-oriented player myself, I still make sure to finish every series at level 25 minimum for the exclusive reward. I remember getting into PvP for the first time. It was honestly quite confusing, from having to unlock the various PvP modes and having to use, albeit similar, weapon skills, abilities, and spells. Just quickly, if you're new to Final Fantasy XIV or you haven't been made aware of PvP yet, here's a quick rundown of how to actually participate. You have to get to level 30 with any job of your choosing and have completed a quest called Sylph Management. Then, make your way to your chosen Grand Company. Around there you will see a feature quest, which is that blue quest icon, with the name of a pup no longer. Pick up that quest and make your way to the closest ferry and take it to the Wolf's Den, which is the PvP hub of the game. Once you have the Wolf's Den unlocked, look around and find the NPC called Gungi Selungi, who has another feature quest for you. Completing this will give you access to Crystalline Conflict. Next, make your way back to your Grand Company, where you see another feature quest which will unlock Frontlines for you. Right, so there are a couple of different PvP modes in Final Fantasy XIV. They are, and in no particular order, Rival Wings, Crystalline Conflict, Frontlines, and, well, dueling. Unfortunately, if you are a free trial GigaChad, you do not have access to PvP. This video will only cover Frontlines and Crystalline Conflict, as Rival Wings, for reasons, is dead content or just straight up discontinued. Frontlines have 3 teams, a total of 72 players. You play either as Maelstrom, Adders, or Immortal Flames. Frontlines are an excellent piece of content that is widely used by the community to level up their jobs, as it's included in the daily roulette. This also gives serious experience, anywhere from 1200 to 1600 as I've experienced. Frontlines are preferred by the casuals, those who log in daily and just want to work towards level 25 rewards slower but steadier. And hey, nothing wrong with that, since that's what I do, in most cases anyway. There are quite a few different modes to Frontlines, and honestly I will not get into their mechanics in this video. But I will give you a strategy of how I approach them myself. This strategy is all-encompassing to make the grind bearable, while also working with your team and actually getting a win. And lastly, there's Crystalline Conflict. It's the preferred PvP mode by a lot of players. This is where the meat and potatoes of PvP usually resides, as it's much less of a surg than the previous modes, and includes actual player skill and careful optimizations of how you approach it. Later in the video, I will also give you my strategy to make Crystalline Conflict less painful to grind. Before we move on into the strategies, let's look at some numbers. If your main source of PvP series experience comes from Frontlines, then you probably don't care about speed or numbers. But you're in good hands either way, as even if you lose, on average you can expect around 1200 series experience, and with a win up to 1600 depending on the length of the game. Usually Frontlines run from anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. Because the numbers are fluctuating, looking at numbers for Frontlines, well, don't make a lot of sense now, does it? If you really want numbers though, here's an estimate. However, Crystalline Conflict is great with numbers. A static 900 series experience for winning and 700 for losing, with one match clocking in 5 minutes with the rare exception of a worst case scenario 10-minute overtime. Now those numbers we can work with and parse. If you were to only win, you would need 120 wins. If you were to only lose, you would need 155 losses. So for 120 wins with 5-minute matches roughs out to 10 hours of PvP. On the other hand, if you were to only lose, it's roughly 13 hours, so only a 3-hour difference. The Frontline strategy is very easy to follow. Since this is a mass and more of a numbers game than individual skill, unless you've got one of those god tier shot callers, But if you don't have that, your job is to open the map. Make it large enough to cover the entire battlefield and press the lock so it doesn't minimize while playing it. It might cover a lot of your screen, but it is definitely worth it. Your objective is to play the map. It might sound a bit funny, but most of the time ignoring the enemy is the way to win. An objective lights up, mount up and get up there as fast as you can. Of course, if you see a horde of enemies in the horizon, make your way back to your team. If there are no objectives on the map, follow the herd. The second best play you can do besides arriving to objectives first is to be a part of the Zerg. Frontlines really is that simple. This is the strategy I use. It's stress-free, and having 2 objectives in mind, I always know how to position myself and what to do next. Next up then is Crystalline Conflict. This is more of a skill check mode, but even then it can be streamlined and simplified to make it a stress-free grind. Your first option is to just run in, mash your buttons, and hope for the best. More often than not though, this will not work. So what do? Simple. Usually there are a couple of scenarios. The first scenario is you push the enemy healer and backline. You see a white mage? Jump them. A black mage? Throw your axe in their face. The second scenario is if they get the engage on you, you need to peel. What's peeling, you ask? Well, it's you, as a tank, as a healer or DPS, you attack whoever engaged you. You need to peel to make sure your teammates are not being attacked. The third scenario is a term which I loved when playing Overwatch, which is payload princessing. Now, of course, this can be done by anyone, but if you're playing a tank, you're really good at surviving and staying on the point. And the fourth scenario is literally just adapt. If your teammates pressure, join them. If they payload princess, you can switch back to the first scenario and jump in. Or maybe your team runs in up ahead and then it's your job to stay on the point. Great! Now you have a solid strategy to fall back on when grinding PvP. Now you just need to know the correct jobs for the job. Of course, you can play any job you want for any content you want and probably do better than I ever will, but this is for streamlining your grind. I introduce to you the warrior and white mage. Before we get into job specifics, you need to know about Purify, Guard, Recuperate, and the standard issue Elixir and PvP sprint. Yes, PvP sprint is a separate sprint from your normal sprint. Purify is your button to escape enemy CC. If you get binded or stunned and you're about to receive the biggest damage you've seen, you press Purify to regain control of your character again. This also dispels other things such as White Mage's polymorph and other status effects. Next up we have his Guard. Your true "oh my god, I need to press something or I die" button. This ability reduces damage taken by 90% and slows your movement speed by 33%. Which does mean if you can't read your opponent, you can totally ruin their bursts. But it's also useful to prolong the game or to stall. Stalling is actually quite a common strategy. If you're alone on the point, you can use Guard to stall and wait for your teammates to catch up. Do keep in mind you can't do anything else than move, and if you do, Guard will fall off. What about healing then? Well, you have 2 options. Recuperate with a cure potency of 15,000 on the global cooldown, which consumes 2,000 MP to make sure you can't spam it all day every day. The other is the standard issue Elixir. This is a 4.5 second cast to refill your health and MP to full, so it's best used under cover and away from the enemy. And last, PvP sprint. It's called sprint, just like your normal sprint. It's honestly a little confusing, however it's mechanically different. It gives you a 50% movement speed increase, but lasts until you use another action. So really, unless you're knee deep in battling the enemy, you should use this. It also makes for a great chasing tool. The warrior, the axe wielder, and the one literally too angry to die. The warrior makes PvP a breeze as you're so damn tanky. You can easily face tank, in Crystalline Conflict at least, multiple enemies for quite a while and still dish out good damage. Your job as a tank is to, well, just that. Tank. First up, warrior's biggest strength, AoE pressure. Warrior dishes out extremely powerful AoE damage, and thanks to bloodwetting, that damage can be converted directly into healing. This gives warrior incredible self-sustain during fights, allowing you to stay alive far longer than most jobs. Next, we have one of the strongest limit breaks in PvP. Warrior's limit break doesn't just shut down guard, it also boosts your ability, damage, and makes you completely immune to crowd control while it's active. Warrior also brings strong team utility with orogeny, reducing damage dealt by multiple enemies by 10%. This damage reduction can be the difference between your team surviving a push or getting wiped. Though to be honest, I just use it on cooldown. Then there's Bloda, a powerful single target draw-in that lets you isolate key enemies or drag players off high ground and into danger. Used correctly, Bloda sets up kills and forces opponents out of position. And finally, Onslaught. Your dash also increases the target's damage taken by 10%, making it perfect for coordinated burst with your team. Despite how powerful it is, your limit break has a huge risk. Once it ends, you're locked out of guard for 15 seconds, leaving you completely exposed if the fight doesn't go your way. Your ability to survive also heavily depends on bloodwetting. When it's on cooldown, you lose your main source of sustain, making large fights extremely dangerous if you're forced to stay in. Warrior also lacks true defensive cooldowns. One wrong move, one bad overcommit, and you can be KO'd with little to no time to react. Mobility is another weakness. With only a single dash to a target, overcommitting can leave you trapped deep in enemy lines with no way out. So how do I play Warrior really? Well, Warrior's most basic combo consists of Heavy Swing, Maim, and Storm's Path. All three share the same 5 yaw melee range, dealing 5000, 6000, and 7000 damage respectively when used in sequence. Since these are weapon skills, they benefit from the healing provided by bloodwetting. That said, Warrior isn't a job built to play defensively. You generally won't want to engage without bloodwetting available, and when it is, your priority is to lean on your AoE abilities to maximize the amount of healing you receive. Because of this, the Heavy Swing combo often ends up being a fallback option, used primarily when your stronger abilities are on cooldown and you have nothing else available. Outside of the regular combo, there are a few you can fall back on. The first regular burst combo, which you can use as a default, Bloda to reel the enemy in, Orogeny to debuff the enemy and drop an inner chaos for big damage. A great and short setup. As for engaging, you need to remember to use Bloodwetting, and then follow it up with Primal Rend for a stun engage, into Orogeny for the debuff, and finish with Chaotic Cyclone for big AoE damage and self-sustain. Your limit break is best used for a big group or shutting down a tough target. Start with Onslaught to close the gap, pop your limit break followed up with a Bloda to make sure they're running nowhere. Finish with an Inner Chaos once close to you and drop a Primal Rend to double down on that crowd control. Well, what about max damage and sustain? Use your limit break from afar, remember it has a 12-yard radius, follow with an Onslaught to dash into the group. Rip your Orogeny and pop your Bloodwetting, Primal Rend on the closest target and combo it with Primal Ruination. If they're still standing, or better yet, running away, follow with Bloda to reel them back in with a Chaotic Cyclone and finish with your Primal Wrath. Next up, we have White Mage. While White Mage is a healer and does output healing, I do not play White Mage as a backline healer. I don't go targeting my teammates and throw heals. Oh no, friend. I play White Mage on the offense. Most of the time anyway. So why White Mage? It brings a well-rounded kit, strong damage, reliable crowd control, and solid mitigation and respectable mobility all in one package. Its crowd control is especially powerful, featuring both an AoE stun and a polymorph, allowing you to disrupt multiple enemies or shut down high priority targets easily. You also gain access to a targeted Purify effect on a relatively short cooldown, giving you excellent tools to cleanse crowd control and stay active in fights. The limit break is crazy, having the fastest recharge time in PvP. This allows you to impact fights more frequently than almost any other job, and perhaps most importantly, this job doesn't require your team to play around you. Your kit is effective regardless of coordination, making you consistently impactful in both solo and organized play. So why not White Mage then? Well, one of the biggest drawbacks is limited access to healing while on the move. Being caught out of position is far more punishing compared to other jobs. Hence why I personally play White Mage on pure offense. You're also highly vulnerable to crowd control interrupting your Cure 2, which can completely deny your primary source of healing. Even when Cure 2 isn't interrupted, its cast time creates a delay, meaning the healing often comes too late after you've already been crowd controlled. Finally, both your party-wide defensive buff and AoE heal are locked behind using a gap closer on an enemy, forcing you into potentially dangerous positions just to access your strongest defensive tools. On to some combos on how you could play White Mage the way I do. Luckily, White Mage is perhaps the easiest for any player to pick up and succeed in PvP. On the backline, all you really want to do is spam glare and throw a cure on those who need it, along with an Aqua Whale, or if you feel like playing an offense mage like I do, pop it on yourself before doing your burst rotation. You start with a glare, hardcast, and laser beam the ever-living hell out of your enemy with your Afflatus Purgation limit break, followed with your gap closer Seraph Strike into an Afflatus Misery. If the enemy gets to you during this, drop a Miracle of Nature to polymorph them and finish with 3 Glare 4 instant casts. That's your true full burst. Though the White Mage has truly low cooldowns, so you also follow a 20-second burst window. Start with a Glare hardcast, followed into Seraph Strike to close the distance. Drop an Afflatus Misery and, if ready, Miracle of Nature Polymorph, finished with 3 Glare 4s. Following this 20-second burst, you can put out 33,000 damage East burst rotation. And just like that, you've learned how to stress-free get your seasonal PvP rewards. Honestly, PvP could use some glow-ups here and there. It's very confusing and very surgy. It's actually a bit difficult to even know what's going on unless you bash your head against a wall for long enough. However, my name is Volkas and I've been your host. Thank you very much for watching. If you think you'd make use of these strategies, make sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure to subscribe for more Final Fantasy XIV related content. Oh, and also, as this is my first video, please leave me some feedback. The only way I can improve is if you tell me how. Take care now.